And top of the morning to you. It is Friday, August the 4th, 2017. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. Welcome to another edition of the Mike Prince Show. Want to remind you that you can follow us each and every day right here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Today will be a very special day. We're going to replay the press conference from yesterday for the start of football camp by football coach Willie Simmons as he addresses the media and explain the future for Panthers football. We'll tune right in right now to yesterday's press conference. Enjoy your weekend and let us all meet again on Monday morning. Until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.
Hey, Coach Willie Simmons.
Good afternoon. Welcome. Excited to be here today for the start of another August football camp for us. It's been a long time coming for us. We feel like we've been working really, really hard in the off season. Guys have had a really, really good 3 months. We ended spring on a really good note, and then I thought they did a good job of transitioning into the summer and really getting a lot bigger, faster, and stronger in the weight room, and in a lot better condition on the field. So we're excited to start our first practice this evening. Looking forward to a lot of energy, a lot of excitement and enthusiasm from not only the players but the coaching staff, and as we begin our championship push this year. So honor for you guys to be here, and want to open it up to questions for you guys about this coming season.
One practice per day. How many 2 a day?
Well, the NCAA passed the rule this year eliminating 2-a-days across the board. So not only at this level, but at Division I, Division II level, all the way down to NAIA, they pretty much done away with 2-a-days. And we had already kind of started to move in that direction. Some years ago, they passed that we couldn't have consecutive 2-a-days. So last year, for example, I think we only had 3 2-a-day practices. And some teams had already gone to the 1-a-day format. And it allows us to utilize more time for meetings and walkthroughs as opposed to the physical pound of the body. So now it's all about player safety, and of course the NCAA in conjunction with the NFL have begun to really look at player safety, and they felt that 2-a-days was putting a lot of unnecessary stress on the body.
Coach, you made an emphasis about how the 1 day will help reduce wear and tear on the body, which should strengthen the mental approach toward the game. With that being said, you got some depth at quarterback, and the key to a successful offense or defense is going to be those guys in the trenches. How are you looking on both the offensive and defensive line? Even though I know camp hasn't started, but what's your projections opening up in the camp?
Well, again, not only at those positions, but the team as a whole, we feel like we have a lot of quality depth. For the first time in our 3 years here, we feel like we have depth at every position. So up front, we have a lot of guys who played some snaps. We brought in some guys who we feel like can fill in some holes and really provide some good depth and compete for some starting positions. And then the defensive line had already returned a ton of guys from last season, and we also added to that position as well through recruiting. So we feel like we've done a really good job recruiting the last few years to get us to this point to where we finally have quality depth at every position.
So, Coach, what do you call the strength of the team? The line, the defensive backs? Which one do you consider the strength?
Well, hopefully they're all strengths because of our depth and consistency. I think in years past we've kind of had to lean on certain positions more so than others. The first year we were really, really depending on our offense a lot. We knew that we would have to score a ton of points because we were very young on defense, and that wasn't our strong suit coming in. Last year it was kind of the opposite. We knew we graduated a lot of really good players from that offense. We knew the defense had a little bit of experience, so hopefully they would carry us until the offense came along. But this year, it's almost a perfect marriage to where the offense is returning a lot of veterans from last year, the defense is returning a lot of veterans from last year and years past, and we return all of our specialists. So there's not a single position where we say, hey, we feel like we need to get some more guys. We feel like we have quality depth across the board, and not only depth, but really good players and guys who we feel like can be some of the best players, not only the SWAC, but all of FCS football.
Now, Coach, I'm hearing a lot of confidence going into year number 3. The old saying, the third time is a charm. And with the confidence level being up, would it be safe to assume that there might be a slight bit more of expectation, if you will, a little bit more pressure on making sure you get over that hump, which is championship for us for this run?
Well, I wouldn't say that there's more expectations, because our expectations here have always been championship. That's something that we set out to do when I took the job here 3 years ago. So our guys understand that our standard of excellence is always at the utmost. And that's not only on the football field. That's in the classroom, that's in the weight room, that's socially, that's in everything we do. So from that perspective, I wouldn't say the expectations are higher. I'd say maybe the enthusiasm may be a little bit higher from the fan base, from the coaching staff, because this is year 3. We have been in the system for a while now. Everyone kind of understands what we're looking to do within the program. So I would say just the consistency of everything has given us a little bit more, like I said, I wouldn't say excitement, but eagerness to get on the field and really see if we can finally put it all together, because we feel like for the first time we have a team on paper that don't have many weaknesses or deficiencies that should be able to compete for a championship.
Starting quarterback, I don't know if you designated one yet, or if there's going to be competition in the trials and the practice. Have you designated a starting quarterback?
We haven't named a starting quarterback officially, but there will be competition there, just like there'll be competition at every position. 3 guys had really good springs. Between Jalen Morton, who played some for us last year, Nico Hollins, who was a redshirt for us last year, who's playing for the first time, and then Lavelle McCullers, who was a transfer. All 3 of those guys bring a skill set to the position that we feel can give us a chance to win. The next really 2.5 weeks of practice will be critical in one of those guys separating himself from the other 2. And that's not necessarily going to be based on physical ability. It's going to be based on their ability to lead the other guys. The quarterback is a guy that everyone wants to look to for confidence, for consistency, for communication, and all of those things. So it's whichever one of those guys really takes the bull by the horn in that regard, gives himself the best chance to lead. But in the event that both 2 of them or even 3 show that, we'll have a decision to make as a coaching staff about how we look to go into the first game as far as playing, maybe more than one quarterback.
Coach, another quarterback question. Jalen kept stepped in a critical time last season with some injuries. How comfortable do you feel with the quarterback depth that you have right now going into this season than you had last season? And then the tail end of that, I know you hadn't designated a starter just yet, but someone has to take that first snap at practice tonight. Who will that be?
It's gonna be me. Well, we do really feel good about the depth at that position. And again, that falls in line with the message for the entire camp. We have 3 guys who we really feel give us a chance to be successful. And even a 4th who doesn't get mentioned a lot. Josh Johnson has played for us. He's been in the program for 4 years. He's actually finishing an internship right now, so he won't be with us for a few more days. But we feel really good about the depth we have at that position. The tough part is, at some point, we have to start getting someone ready to play if they're starting to separate themselves. So reps will be cut from the other guys in the event that happens. So that's one thing that, as a coach, you look for, and it's just the nature of the beast. But who will take the first snap tonight? Right now, Nico Hollins has done enough in the off season from a consistency standpoint. We feel like to warrant taking the first snap in practice, but each of those guys will get first team reps today. So Nico may get the first team rep in pass scaling or team, but Jalen Moore may get the first rep in pass scale. So Coach Black has done a really good job of challenging those guys to and really keeping them on their toes. No one is first team the entire practice. Someone's first team in this team period, someone else's first team in another team period. So the way we line up in flex, we do it by depth chart, so to speak. So you have to appoint somebody first. But again, right now it's 1A, 1B, and 1C in our eyes.
You mentioned continuity. Talk about the continuity in your coaching staff having everyone back in the same straight year.
I think is one of the most underappreciated things going into the season. It's something we don't talk about a lot, but consistency in any program, I think, is one of the biggest things when you're talking about building a championship program. And so to have all 9 assistant coaches back from last season I think will really do a lot for our team. And not only the assistant coaches, but more importantly, having the same coordinators back. So for the 3rd year in a row, Alex Jackson will serve as our offensive coordinator. Ralph Street will serve as our defensive coordinator. And so it gives our units consistency. It's one thing to change a position coach, but that position coach still has to buy into the plan that the coordinators put together. But to have the same coordinators, again, I think it will show continued improvement. You look at the defensive side, every year they've shown improvement. And I think that's a direct reflection of their comfort level with Coach Street and his vision for this defense. And so hopefully we'll continue to improve in all those areas. And even in the kicking game, with Coach Henry returning as the special teams coordinator, but all the position coaches manning their respective units, I think we'll have a lot more consistency and production from those groups as well.
Coach, you just made a mention of Coach Street. I call him the ghost because he doesn't like to talk much. How valuable has he been as far as being at that defensive coordinator position? When you first inherited this team, one of the Achilles heels and one of the addresses has been, we've got to find a way to tighten that defense up. I know the continuity that he brings, the schemes that the guys have got more comfortable in. You and I have gone back and forth over the time. I know you're an offensive guy, I'm a defensive guy. But how valuable has his consistency been with that improvement for the Panthers?
It's been invaluable. I mean, what Coach Street allows me to do is focus really all of my attention on the offense in special teams phases. I rarely have to go down on the other end of the practice field to see what they're doing because I know that he's put a plan together that they can execute. I know that he's giving information to his assistant coaches to allow them to go out and coach their guys. Again, even in staff meetings, when we meet as an offensive and defensive staff, I don't have to worry about stepping out of the offensive meeting room to go next door and see if they're putting the game plan together that we can win with. He still defers to me for a lot of things, and he still brings the game plan to me. We talk about the game plan, so we still communicate as far as how much we're going to pressure this week. Asking me about some ways to maybe game plan for a dynamic player that the other team may have. So we still have great communication before games, during games, but again, having him here really makes my job a lot easier as a play caller because I don't have to spend so much time worrying about whether we can stop people.
Can you have the ghost be available this year?
We're gonna make that Dwayne's #1 mission this year to get Ralph to do an interview, and we may have to wait till after the Celebration Bowl for that to happen. But we think we can get him on at least on the camera.
Just it's been a change in the schedule. You're gonna try to play one of the nation's best team 5 days after you play the big practice. How do you think this?
Well, I mean, scheduling is always something when you look at it. The one thing you try to do, well, 2 things. One, you try to highlight your university as much as you possibly can. And in the SWAC, we don't get many opportunities to play on national TV. And so when they came calling saying, hey, we want to put this game on, but the only way we could put it on is if it's Thursday night, well, I sat down with Mr. Lewis, our AD for internal operations, communications, and Mr. Robinson, our athletic director, and had that discussion. Do we want to put this game on TV? There are a lot of advantages to doing so. It gives us a chance to be a national brand on national television to show our magnificent stadium, but the opponent that we're playing is, perceived to be a really tough opponent, and it's 5 days after the opening game of the season against our crosstown rivals. So there were a lot of decisions that had to go into it, but we felt as a collective group that what this game will do for our institution as far as the exposure really outweighs the short turnaround. So I look at it 2 ways. One, we have a quick turnaround. They have an extended turnaround. They play the Friday before in week 0. So they're going to have 10 whole days to sit around and wait to play us again. Well, that gives us 10 days to get their film into our system to be able to have it ready, whereas they have to wait until we play Texas Southern to see what we do. So they're going to get our film on Monday, and they got to turn around on Sunday, and then they got a game plan for us in 3 days. Whereas we're going to have their film a week and a half in advance. Now, we probably won't spend much time looking at it because we're going to get ready for Texas Southern. But, again, the first time they'll see us play will be 5 days before they play us. The first time we'll see them play will be 15 days before we get to see them. So there are some advantages to the way the schedule has come about, and hopefully from a health standpoint, that's the biggest concern, is that we're healthy going into that game 5 days after we play a physical Texas Southern team.
Coach, you just brought up about the importance of playing 2 magnified games back-to-back in a short period. And flipping that role, going back, do you see an advantage point of getting film early on Texas Southern when they play FAMU in week 0? How do you use that to your advantage? Or do you believe they will not open up as much as they would like to in preparation for their Labor Day class?
Well, if I know Mike Hayward, he's going to try to win the game. So I don't think he would try to hold something back so that we wouldn't see him. At the end of the day, we've played each other before. They haven't changed a lot schematically. At least I wouldn't anticipate them by what they do. So, again, you know, if he's like most coaches that I know, he's looking at the Florida A&M game right now. You know, the Prairie View game's in the back of his mind, I would assume. But right now his focus has to be getting this team ready to go down to Tallahassee and play Florida A&M. And then he'll turn his focus to us the next week. Fortunately for us, they are our first game, so all of our focus and attention right now is on Texas Southern. And so, again, advantages versus disadvantages, I think that's relative. You ask 50 coaches, you might get 50 different answers. You know, but again, we're going to prepare for the game that's in front of us, which is Texas Southern. And then after that, we'll have a short turnaround to prepare for the next game, which will be Sam Houston State. And that's the only thing we can do. We can worry about our schedule, who we play, and how we prepare for those games. We can't really worry about how they're going to prepare and whether it gives them some type of competitive advantage.
Coach, looking at that September, that's a challenge. That's 5 games, 5 weeks.
Well, it's 5 weekends in September, so you know, I mean, the good Lord didn't make any mistakes in yeah, but you know, but we're not the only team that's doing that. I think most of the teams in the country are playing 5 weeks in September. So again, where your bye week falls is a lot of times based on the conference schedule. It's based on how you try to schedule out non-conference games. So again, is it a tough schedule? Yeah, but last year, again, we played 5 straight weeks to begin the season. It just so happened that week 5 fell in October. Week 5 this year falls in September. So it really doesn't mean we're playing a front-loaded schedule. It just means the yearly calendar has shifted. We played 11 games in a 12-week span, regardless of how you break it down. And that's across the board unless you're like Texas Southern and family playing week 0. So you get 1 bye week in the season. Well, technically 2, but most of us use the last week as a bye week. So for us, we have to plan every year to play 11 games in a 12-week span. Regardless of your bye weeks in week 1 or week 11, you're still going to get 1. So again, we don't really look at it and say our schedule is front loaded. We look at it and say that we have a team coming up in Texas Southern that we got to get ready for. And then, of course, the next week we got to get ready for someone else. The next week someone else. The next week someone else, and so forth and so forth. So that's just the way football coaches think. I know it kind of sounds like a talking around the question, but for us as football coaches, we just know that every 7 days we're going to play a football game. We don't care if it's in September, October, or November. That's just the way football goes.
Coach, this is your 3rd year of leading the Panthers. What have you personally gained from first year to this 3rd year as you prepare for this season? Where have you grown individually as a coach that's going to help you prepare your team for this season?
Well, I've grown in understanding Prairie View A&M and its culture, and interacting more with alumni, trying to find more ways to connect with them, to get them, out to games, to engage them in community relations, and again, being more engulfed in this program, this institution. And that's really what I think I've learned the most. Of course, as a head coach, every year you learn more and more about being a head coach. Game time management, you look at seasons past and did I make the right decision here? In this situation, would I do something different? Scheduling wise, have I scheduled the right way as far as our practice schedules, our times? And I think I've done a better job now after being here for 2 years and understanding class schedules. Prairie View schedules classes at unique times. We're probably one of the few institutions who actually schedule classes during lunch hours. And so again, understanding our culture here and how we function as an institution has really been probably the thing I've grown in the most. And hopefully I'm a better coach today than I was 2 years ago.
So how many seniors expecting to graduate this year?
Expecting to graduate, most of them will graduate by the end of the year. We do have some 2-year transfers that we brought in. Those are typically the ones who have a little bit longer time graduating because, of course, classes don't always transfer in when they come, so they may lose anywhere from 9 to 15 hours coming in. But basically, everyone who started here 4 or 5 years ago are on course to graduate. We have right now 2 graduate students now in Kadara Hodge and Sean Pierce who will actually play this season as grad students. So that's one of our team goals. We met as a team on Tuesday. One of our team goals is that every senior graduate within 5 years. So if you're here first year as a freshman, you got 5 years to get done. If you're here as a second year sophomore, 4, 2 or 3 if you're a transfer. But we're on course to do that. And again, that's attributed to our academic compliance department. They do a phenomenal job of helping our athletes push through academically and get out of here on time.
I think that's one of the strong things about your program is graduate your players and large numbers.
Well, that's one of our platforms. When I took the job, and stood in front of the president and the crowd that was there, that was one thing I made a charge to do, is make sure that academically our student athletes succeed. And that's something that our coaches understand. That's something that our administration understands. And I tell anyone, Prairie View's not an easy school. There's a reason we have our academic reputation. There's a reason our graduates make more than any other HBCU graduate, graduating in America. Is because we have a very stringent curriculum, and you're not just going to cruise by at Prairie View. They don't care that you're a football player or that you're an athlete or that you're in a Greek fraternity or sorority. You got to do the work. And so for our student athletes, it's understanding what they have to do to succeed here. And that's be excellent on the field, in the classroom, in the community. And that's something that we try to drive home every single day to our student athletes of what it means to be a well-rounded individual.
Coach, I want to give you a compliment. That's the APR that's consistently increased every year.
Well, the first year it really shot up, and then the last 2 years because of a little bit more attrition, it's kind of dipped a little bit, and that's something that we got to try to get back high. Our goal is to be the leading team in the conference as far as APR goes, and but again, there are a lot of things that go into that. It's not just graduating; it's retaining your guys as well. So transfers sometimes hurt that. Competition drives guys leaving, because again, I'm not going to play. I'm going to go somewhere where I feel like I have a better chance to play. So we've lost some guys to that, But again, that's all about building the program, building the culture, and I think as we continue to do that, we'll continue to see our not only win column continue to go up, but our APR and graduation rates continue to go up as well.
Can do it, man.
Coaches, like last year we had Singleton come in as an FBS transfer. Do we have any FBS transfers this year?
We do. We do. He's officially here, so I guess I can name him. Antoine Stevens is a transfer cornerback from Oklahoma, and he's here. He's gone through compliance and gotten his physical and done everything, so he'll be on the field today. And he's a redshirt sophomore, so he's a little bit younger. Terrence was a 5th-year graduate, so he was able to come in as a bigger, faster, stronger guy that's been in the Baylor's program for 4 years and was able to step in right away and start for us. Antoine is a very talented young man based on everything that we saw from him out of high school and what he's done in 2 years at Oklahoma. But I don't know if he has the same, resume that maybe Terrence did. Terrence played a ton of snaps for Baylor and came in and played right away. So Antoine is learning, like most of them do, that, hey, they play really good football in the SWAC too. Sometimes I think those guys come in with a little bit of a misnomer that they're just going to walk in and be the best guy on the field. Well, he found out yesterday running those 110s that, hey, these guys are running, and I better pick up my pace if I'm going to keep up with them. So, again, but that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to breed competition here. We're trying to continue to grow our brand. And, we expect that if guys go through this program, and the conditioning program that we have in place, strength and conditioning program, with the training room that we have, with our nutrition here, that after 2, 3, 4 years, you'll be able to compete with guys at Power 5 conferences. And that's something that we're aspiring to do. And I think we're really, really getting close to being at that level.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.